Hi, I'm Tom, and in this video I'll show you how I painted this to look like this. If you haven't seen my previous video, check it out after this one. A xenomorph from the Aliens films franchise. I used some reference photos of some movie props, which are from Sideshow Collectibles. These head sculpts aren't available anymore unless you want to fork out £1,000 on eBay. I love the Alien films, and I've seen a few people try and mimic the look of these xenomorphs. I thought I'd try and make my own recipe and use my own techniques to see if I could improve it. Now stay tuned to the end because you could own this model. Let me know down in the comments what rules you think could be used for this model. Maybe a Hive Tyrant, a Hierophant, or one of the new Norn models. Before painting, I sprayed the entire model with a matte varnish. Why, you ask? Well, when using this Martian Iron Earth texture paint, it sticks better to painted or rough surfaces. This paint cracks when it dries, and if it's painted over smooth plastic, it flakes off over time and ruins your paint job. I use this paint as it adds some interesting texture to the surface of the carapace and also makes it look organic. I also based the model with some cork sheet, some tyranid node sphincter things, and some gravel from the beach. Make sure after the glue is dried that there is no loose debris on the base. The base colour for a xenomorph is black, so I used a Colourforge matte black spray can. Ensuring I covered all of the model and the base. Here you can see the cracks in the carapace plates. One of the chaos markings is still visible, which I kinda like. It hints at what the model was before I converted it. What do you think? I'm going to be doing a lot of dry brushing on this model. I'd advise getting yourself some good ones, like these Artis Opus brushes. I have affiliate links below if you're interested. The Games Workshop dry brushes are utter shite. One big trick I learned about dry brushing from watching Byron on the Artis Opus YouTube channel is that you should use a slightly damp brush for dry brushing. You put a few drops of water into a sponge and dip your brush into it. This sort of wakes up the brush and softens the hairs and makes it work better. The first base colour is a grey. You can use any dark grey base. I use Storm Vermin Fur. I put a small amount onto my brush and then I used the texture palette to work the paint into the bristles. I then used the texture palette to test how much paint was coming off the brush. You then pull the brush over the raised surfaces, making sure to leave the base colour in the recesses. After this grey, you can really see the model coming to life. I also use this colour to paint the base. The next colour I used is a metallic silver. Looking at the xenomorphs in detail, they have a lot of metallic in them, and seem to leak silver saliva too. This colour needs to be hinted throughout the model, but not overpowering. I did another dry brush using the metallic. And I know it looks over the top at the minute, but this will be darkened down with a black later on. Xenomorphs have layers of colour and depth to them. I then used Rakarth Flesh. You could use any bone or flesh colour. I use this to paint the brains and tentacle nodes. I then used a flesh shade over the top to colour them and wash it into the recesses. You could use a contrast paint too. When applying the wash, make sure it doesn't pool in the recesses or run off onto the carapace. I then moved onto a black wash I used Nuln Oil to show all the texture on the model and to darken down some of the metallic and the grey. I wanted to add a flash of blue to the metallic, so I mixed a wash of Pterodon Turquoise Contrast 1:1 with water. This contrast is super vibrant, so using it straight out of the pot would stain the metallic areas too much. I applied this to all the plates in carapace, as the muscle and flesh parts would be a different colour. I then mixed up Black Templar 2:1 with water, and applied this all over the entire model apart from the brains. Here you can see it's darkened the carapace and flesh, but has some hints of blue still showing through. I then used Stormhost Silver to paint the teeth, tentacles and claws. As you can see in the reference photo, the teeth are metallic, so I base coated all of these and any nodes and nodules with the metallic. I then did a fine dry brush over the most raised plates to give them a silver tint on the edges, making sure that the flat surfaces are not painted. As you can see here, there's barely any paint on this brush. Then onto my favourite bit. I use the Archaon flesh paint again to dry brush all of the muscle and flesh. Again, I'm making sure the recesses are left dark. On the wings, I brush just the middle of each fold, making sure the edges remain our black and metallic colour. I also painted all of the skulls embedded in the flesh with this. I then used the flesh wash again to go over the areas that I just dry brushed with the bone colour, and use this wash to blend into the dark areas too. This step massively transformed the model. It looks so much like a xenomorph now, and there is clearly a depth of colour to the body. The next step was to add a black fade into the wing recesses here. I used an airbrush on 20 psi and sprayed undiluted Black Templar contrast into the recesses to help blend it in even more. If you don't have an airbrush, you could just use this as a wash. The xenomorphs have a very shiny carapace, so I used this gloss varnish and covered the entire model with it using thin layers. You could also use a spray can for this. I added 2 or 3 layers, Ooh. I then used some Carroburg Crimson to add some pink tints to the brains, which really transformed them. I also used this on the bases too to highlight the tyranid nodules and spread it out around them as well to look like creep from StarCraft and make it look like it's growing from the earth. I then mixed up an oil wash. This is not scary, don't worry. It's literally some mineral spirits and a dollop of oil paint. That's it. I used an old brush and then just dabbed this all over the base, which added some interest to it and some contrast. I then mixed up a black oil wash using the same technique and used this to wash all over the xenomorph, avoiding the brains. I also added some of this to the base too. Where it pulls in the recesses, you can dry the brush off on a towel and then suck it up. And that's it, finished. Let me know what you think in the comments. What would you do differently? What rules would you use with this model? If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you want to support me further, check out my affiliate links in the video description for Element Games. And as I said before, you could own this model. As soon as this video goes live, this model is up for sale on eBay. And the sales from this will go straight back into supporting the channel. If you like this video, check out my others. Consider supporting me on Patreon so you can get access to behind the scenes and also get access to my Discord server. Thank you to my current Patreon supporters, you're absolute legends. Thank you to my latest Patreon supporter, Clan Skull. Hail to you, champion.